Alright, we're gonna show you what you're doing wrong. Okay, look, that isn't even a picture of what this guy, he just downloaded that picture and said, this is what it looks like. So, this is what you're doing wrong. First of all, I'm gonna just do only talking. Like, you don't even need to be at the truck. You don't need a demonstration. They give you perfectly clear directions. Now, here's the deal. This is what you're doing wrong right off the bat, so you don't have to watch the whole video and be like, oh, well, you could have just said so. You're not flushing your system, and if you think you are, you're not. So, if I was able to get it to work in my 98 F-150 that had not only did some dumbass put the wrong coolant in it and it gelled up on them, I think, but it was so rusty, the bottom half of the radiator was mud. If I can get this to work, you can get this to work, because this is one of the best products on the market. You don't get products rated to the top if they don't work or only work sometimes. This is probably one of the only parts you're going to have to buy, and I would recommend it. You don't have to, but most likely if you need this product, you have so many rusty components in there, you're going to want a new thermostat. So here's the deal, and they're like $5, and you're already taking messing with your radiator hose. So mine's right on the top. I can just pop it out, put a new one in. You get to not worry about the rust. Now we're going to elaborate on why you need to flush everything, and I'm talking about not just draining it and filling it and draining it and filling it. And by the way, if you do that, you have to do that all cold. If you do that warm and put ice cold water, if you have a cracked head or cracked block, you're going to open that crack up bigger. Hold on a second. If I don't actually hit record, I'm using a screen recorder. So this is why you want a new thermostat, because those things were so rusty after a couple of years, sometimes, or 5 or 10, that once you pour that stuff in, it's not even going to get past it's going to bind to that rust like it's an open crack, or like it's a breach, like there's oxygen there. So what is rust? Without looking, without even thinking about it, isn't it oxidized iron or something like that? So if you have rusty chunks or even particles floating around in your coolant, it's going to bind. That's what those floaters are, and it's a snowball effect. It's binding onto that. The product, Blue Devil, sees that as a breach. It says, oh, oxygen and iron and metal, attack, and it crystallizes around that. Now, if you have a massively like a $5 shit thermostat, which you can get better thermostats with better metals and better coatings, it's going to attack that. If you're pouring that in through a top hose, and it takes a minute to get past that thermostat, well, hello, it's McFly. It's not going to even, it's just going to be like, bam, attack. Here's another thing you have to do. I should have said 2 things. You have to do this cold, because the temperature is what activates this. You have to do this ice cold. You have to pour that shit in first thing in the morning, and then you start your car up. Now I want to just show you a couple of. Now here's what you do with the flush. You don't just drain it. This is what I did. Not only did I use a nice product, I'm not going to even advertise anybody else, so I'm just going to pretend like I forgot, and I think I did. But one product I will say I used, and I think I used about a half of it and got it out of there quick, was CLR. That was what I did second. Don't recommend that at all because it's not intended for vehicles. But if you don't heat your vehicle up, hey, I mean, come on, man. It's intended to clean out rust. So we go get yourself a really good flusher, radiator flush, power flush, and you're gonna have to. You might even have to take 2 days to empty out your coolant. I don't recommend putting in. You don't need coolant. You can do that later. You don't need antifreeze in there. You don't need actual coolant in there. Just put water. And for the sake of this, there's not enough electrolytes in tap water to fuck this up. I would maybe spend the $5 on some distilled water, or $10. But I did half and half. I think I poured a few gallons of distilled, and I just kept putting the hose in there. You're looking for, you want to eliminate all particles out of your coolant to do this. And then here's another thing that I did. Instead of pouring the product purely into it, don't use that pour and go shit. Use that 8 month. It's been about a year and a half and mine's starting to steam again. And I think I even dropped like that much water. So I might do the pour and go. I don't know. I might just do the whole thing again. I mean, we're talking about a $2,000 deal here, and mine's just a head. Mine's just actually, no, it's like an $800 deal, because I'm pretty sure mine is the intake. It's not a head. It's the intake manifold, and it's either a cracked manifold, probably not, or it's the gasket, most likely, like 8 out of 10 gaskets. So I would recommend diluting this stuff as you pour it in, and pour it in slowly, because if you just pour it in, it's gonna back up on you and come out. So get you a gallon jug, pour your Blue Devil in there, and fill the rest up with water, and just boom, 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 and hey, be ready to hold it there for a while. Okay, it's not gonna do anything cold. So you put it in your motor. And then you hook up your hose, and then you start it up, and you just let it idle. I have an 18-minute or like a 25-minute video watching, like literally on like a 65-degree day, okay, where cars don't steam. It was like a 62 or 65-degree day in the sun. Cars don't steam for more than 1 second. So I had steam coming out, and I set the camera up on a rock for 25 minutes and watched that steam willow away. And it wasn't because of it warming up. We're talking steam, no one has steam on a day like this. So it was like in May, but and in Seattle, I mean, like if it was in February in Seattle, different deal. March, different deal. I know I'm kind of blabbering here, but I need to set the record straight, because I just saw some disgusting reviews on Amazon, and we're going to look at those. And, I feel bad for that company that they have to take the blunt of it, and they're attacking Amazon for supposedly knowingly selling a product that'll destroy your vehicles. You guys aren't doing it right. You guys aren't flushing shit. You're backyard hillbillies that you're just like, oh, I'll drain it and fill it real quick. And you probably didn't even do that. You can't do that. You have to flush it. It might take you 2 days, because you have to do this cold once again. So let me show you. This. When you see the first review that came up, okay, because it had that picture, people were probably 14 people found that helpful, 15, 10. Okay, so let's see what they're saying. Look at, first of all, 51% 5 stars. Now use your critical thinking here and look at the rest of it. You have 4 stars because someone just felt like doing 4 instead of 5. That's just as good. Maybe maybe it didn't last long. Maybe it didn't get all of it. Maybe they had a huge crack. or a huge breach in their gasket. Then you have a whole bunch of 1 stars. So it either works or it doesn't. And most of the people say it does. So use your critical thinking on it when you look at these star things. But it says, so I repeat, do not use this product to seal your gasket. Read the reviews. Look at pictures. This will clog your radiator thermostat, heater core, and maybe even your block. Now, this goes back to what I was saying about rust. What builds up the most rust? Heater cores, thermostats, transmission coolers, you name it. Actually had the leak for 5 years. You're looking at a dumbass already, okay? Let me change that word. Use the word made the area damp. Okay, so it wasn't an actual leak. That's a leak. Followed directions and bypassed my heater core. Thank God. And yeah, well, thank God for you, but not because of the product, and performed the procedure. As the engine heated up, the product started to crystallize and clump as it is designed to. I could actually see it clumping in the radiator through the cap as it was happening. Huge, large blue clumps. Long story short, car overheated on idle. Alright, so here's what happened. It was probably already overheating, and he probably left that part out. Because it's not going to make your car, it's not going to do that right away. I've been in the auto business since '85. That doesn't mean anything. Anybody can be in the auto business. You can be mopping Jiffy Lube floors for 25 years. Who knows what this guy, who cares? Let me tell you something. When you have fluid, water or coolant, or both, which you can use this product with both, floating chunks of rust around, these particles, like I've already kind of explained to you. This product will not bind to water. It will not clump up in water. Okay, I never saw one chunk, not one little chunk. Okay. What happened was he didn't flush that vehicle, and whatever was sitting at the bottom started to lift up again. Whatever was at the in his thermostat, in his pipe, even on the walls of the hoses. Oh, that's a great place for rust to sit. That's like the one thing that you need to do it for. You need to flush your damn motor. And this is how I would recommend flushing it. If you're like, okay, get to the, what's the procedure? We know we need a flush product. So what you need to do is draining your radiator is not flushing your coolant system. You're going to have to drain your radiator cold until your reservoir empties, and then your radiator empties, and then you still have a lot of trapped water in your motor. So what you do is you fill it up with water. In this case, you could probably use hose water because it's just your first shot. Then you're going to want to start your vehicle and probably drive it around. I would. But if you start it and let it sit there for 10 minutes, you should be good. You got to pay attention to your coolant level as it drops with your heaters on, because it's going to suck into the heater core. It's going to displace more. Sorry about that. Okay, so at this point, you're done for a while. So you got to park your car, okay? Don't drain it yet. Okay, you can probably drain it lukewarm, but you're not going to fill it up until it's cold again. I would say 2 hours to be, and if you can, what I did when I knew I was pushing it, is I got water from the sink and got lukewarm water in there, because I was scared that temperature exchange, that energy exchange is going to make a crack a lot bigger when it hits that metal. You can't put cold water on hot metal. So so now that you've done it once, you're gonna have to do it again, and then you're ready for. You can do it even another time, but then you're ready for your flush. You're barely started at this point. Okay, you're on the first day still. So you're gonna do your flush. You're gonna drive it around for however long it recommends to do that, and you can push it a little. And then you're gonna go home, let it sit, and you're going to drain that. By the way, you got to save all of this shit. You have to have buckets to put this in, and you got to take it down to your local waste management agency and recycle this properly. Once you get down to just water, you're all right. You go ahead and just pour it down the freaking drain. Fucking water your garden with it. But any volatile chemicals, you need to be responsible and take that to waste management. So now that you've done your flush, you're gonna have to drain it, fill it up, drive it, drain it again. You're probably gonna have to do that more than you drained it at first. I chose to do like a two or 3 day flush because I don't have the money to go hook up a flush system, which I don't even recommend. If you already have a breach, the high pressure of those flushing systems are just going to make it worse. They're just going to make it worse. If you already have a leak, that's going to push water out through that leak. And if you exceed the pressure of what you normally do when you're driving, you're fucked. Anyway, so once you flush it, like I said, I don't recommend doing another little product like CLR, but that's what I did. I was like, fuck this, man. I'm going the extra mile. And because, like I said, I had mud coming out of that thing. So what you do is you get everything out of there back to water. Now, this is where you have a choice of how much coolant you put in there, because the Blue Devil will not care about your coolant, your glycol. I think I did like a quarter or a third glycol and the rest water. And then I mean it was like a quarter. And then I did my Blue Devil shot. And here's what I did. It kind of worked on the first one, right? But I thought I saw some steam coming out, so I got a little trippy and I did a second shot. And I don't think it changed much, but what happened was over the course of a week, it appeared that it was still working and then still kind of clogging things up. And every day I noticed less and less coolant. I mean, less and less steam. But yeah, right, less and less. Maybe even the losing coolant. But I never lost coolant. I don't think. I monitored it. Anyway, I blabber. So, but this is just really upset me that these people are. Look at this. The heater core in my '95 Jeep Wrangler. Okay, '95. When did he do this? 2018. Okay, '05, 25. I mean, 05, 15. So you're already a 23-year vehicle. Who knows what kind of maintenance he did on it. Said, came to this approach, but it seemed like a magic fix. I followed the instructions to the letter, then took the vehicle for a drive, only to find it immediately overheating. I opened the radiator cap, and there were pieces of this rubbery gunk floating around, and I could see it stuck in the radiator fins. Needless to say, the vehicle couldn't be driven. I flushed the system 3 times and even ran Cascade dishwasher detergent. That guy's an idiot, because Cascade dishwashing detergent is an old school trick and was used because of the phosphates. They don't have phosphates in it anymore. It's garbage. It doesn't even work. You don't need soap, and you're not going to get the soap out. The last flush had much fewer pieces of the gunk, and the vehicles does not The good news is the heater core no longer leaks, but it also no longer works. So what he had was he didn't flush his system, because if he would have, he would have gotten enough rust out of that heater core and yes, he would have. See, what happened was, when you, let's say, I'm going to give you the best picture before I end this. Imagine your heater core, your radiator. Let's say I would have left that mud of rust and gunk in the bottom, and let's say it actually made it to that. Well, it'll crystallize that entire layer of rusty mud, and people have cut open their radiators to find blocks of crystallized, like a rock, a blue rock, like a blue clear rock. And I've seen pictures of thermostats that were encased in a blue rock. You didn't do it right. You had a clogged thermostat, just like I did. So if you have a clogged thermostat that's all rusty, look at what's happening. It's barely making it through. It's barely opening up, if at all, and then it's encasing around the rust. And like I said, the rust floating around in your system, it's going to snowball onto it, just like a cloud will snowball onto an ice crystal. That's the way it works. If you have oxidized iron, it's going to say, hey, this looks like a breach, and it's going to get that shit probably before it works on any kind of leak. So I know I gave you the long version of this, but if you're trying to understand these things, then you might want to listen up. Worked for a week and ruined my engine. That's not possible. The seller is very unprofessional, and this product did $1,200 worth of damage. I used it as directed and acted like it was impossible, and basically called me a liar. It is impossible. Update. It worked for 1 week and then started to leak again. So for minor leaks, okay, so you're an idiot. You blew up the seller, who is just the seller, and then maybe you talked to Blue Devil, maybe you didn't, but you're blowing people up for something that isn't their fault, because yeah, it is good for minor leaks. If you have a giant hole in your block, are you stupid? Because you just can't fix stupid. Okay, just put it in my car, and I'm letting it run for 15 minutes. So if it does not work, I will update my review. Blah 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 blah. If it does not work, I'll update my review. If it does work, I will update my review to update everybody on my... Oh my god. It's another dumbass. Fixed BMW head gasket. 190. Car runs like new. Okay. So you're saying so you're saying these guys did it right and it worked, but you did it right and it didn't work? No. Not possible. Believe it or not, it worked. Okay. Bad product. Used as directed, but just half of recommended. Plugged my radiator. Then you didn't... No, that doesn't make any sense. If it plugs your radiator, you didn't flush. Ruined water. You see, if you're ruining all these parts, it's because you have rust in all of these parts. You have massive rust in all of these parts. All you got to do is not using it in an old fucked up vehicle. I mean, sure, the product marketing, should do a little better at telling you not to do this on 30-year-old vehicles that have rust inside of them all over. But see, it worked. It worked the second time. Bypass heater core. I think that's what I did on my second one. I left the heater off, because you don't need to. If your heater core isn't leaking, You don't need to fix something that isn't broken. This guy had lots of water leakage and could not pass the emissions test. This stuff worked, but I did have to do it twice. First time helped. A couple weeks later, second time did the trick. See, that's what I did. Follow the instructions exactly. Bypass the heater core. I don't think instructions tell you to do so. If not, it's a crime. I forgot to bypass heater core the second time, and now heater does not work. See, I did that the first time, and I'm fine. So this is what it boils down to. This is what it boils down to. Are your components and the level of rust trapped in your components? What he didn't do probably was flush his vehicle with the heater on fully every time. And like I said, 9 out of 10 of these guys aren't actually flushing. Okay? They're just draining it once, maybe twice. And maybe 1 out of 20 or 30 use a product. That's what a flush is all about. These products are designed to help lift this rust away. The reason they used to use Cascade and powdery soaps is the phosphates and the ability to scrub the surfaces. Don't do it. Don't do it. But here's what I recommend lastly, is you do it better than I did it, and it will not fail. You drain it and fill it like 5 times. And then when you do your flush, you run your flush solution, you drain it and fill it more than 5 times. If you do that, you can't lose. You're not going, and you have to replace your thermostat. Just get that out of the way. It's $5. If it's too much work to do that, you're taking your chances. Then you better do a good flush. If you know your heater core is not leaking, you don't need to turn your heater on for the blue double process. I think I'm done blabbering. Smart people listen. Dumb people already think they know everything, and then end up putting bad reviews on good products, and then confusing the people that are doing this for their first time, like me. I had to go into this with a lot of anxiety because of those reviews. So don't worry about it. If you do everything right, you don't have to worry. What are you going to lose if you do it perfectly right and exceed the recommendations? Well, you're already looking at a replacement. Okay, so I'm done. I know, I drug you nuts.